Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us with Tea Time with Afternoon Social. And today, our special guest is Katie Corbett, and I'm Teresa Lauterbach. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
She's a health and wellness coach, and she has her own business of health, wellness, and chocolate. And she's going today talk to us about how she reached that milestone of becoming a business owner and losing weight. And I'll let her explain all of her journey that she got her to this point. So, hi, Katie. I'm going to turn it all over to you, and I'm sure you have an exciting story to share with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I love tea time. So when I saw you, I'm like, okay, we have to chat. This is so up my alley. But I used to work for a health department, and then when I started having kids, I came home and loved it, and we decided we wanted a huge family. So fast forward quite a number of years, and I found myself after having my seventh baby, 70 pounds overweight, happy with life, but really frustrated because I am a health educator. I have a master's degree in health. I had struggled with my weight pretty much all my life, and I really felt like defeated. And I could not figure out how to lose weight. And it would frustrate me because it's like, okay, I have a master's degree in health. Like I should get this by now. But it just felt so elusive and I felt so powerless about it. So after I had my seventh baby, my friend finished an Ironman competition. And I was so excited for her. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with what an Ironman competition consists of, but you have to swim for 2 miles. It's like 2 point something miles. Then you get on a bike and you bike for like 100 and something miles. And then you run a full marathon, which is like over 26 miles in one day. Like that's when they're, so I was so excited. We'd watch her do the Ironman. So we'd get live updates and it was so thrilling and it was so exciting. And when she crossed the finish line, we were rooting her on. But the very next emotion I had was jealousy. And I have absolutely no desire to run an Ironman or be involved in one at all. Like that was not a goal of mine, but I felt jealous because I was looking at my life with, 7 babies, really. My oldest was maybe 14 at the time. And you have this newborn. My husband works in New York City. We live in Pennsylvania. So he's gone 15 hours plus a day. We homeschool. So I'm pretty much alone all the time. And while I love my life, I was really feeling drained. I was missing, I was doing the motions of being a good mom, being a good wife, being a homeschool mom, but I didn't even have a hairbrush, And so I was like, what if I figure out how to lose weight without dieting? Like, what if I stop dieting? Because I tried if you name a diet, I have tried it. I have tried shakes and keto and Weight Watchers and diet pills and counting points and counting carbs and counting macros and separating out the protein and the fats. You name it. I tried a juice fast and I made it till 10 a.m. and then I cried and I ate a banana. I was so frustrated with the whole experience. And I can't, my brain was just like, I cannot cope with another diet. I just can't do it. And I said, you know what? They don't work anyway. I've proven that now over 30 years. There's something else missing. And so I really kind of set out on this quest, okay, I'm going to figure out what's missing. And then if I can figure this out, I'm going to teach other people about it because I am a health educator. And I'm like, I've always researched health. So what is missing? What am I not getting? So I took a year, I call it my year of grace. And I just started researching, what are the best practices? How do you actually lose weight? And I stumbled upon a book by Dr. Roger Gould, and it's called Shrink Yourself. And he goes into the psychology behind the battle with your weight and how, you basically have 2 stomachs, your biological stomach and your phantom stomach. And your phantom stomach is really kind of triggered by any kind of uncomfortable emotional event. It could be triggered by a happy emotional event too, but typically your brain will focus on the negative emotional events. Mm-hmm. And your brain has created this neural pathway where you'll have an uncomfortable emotion and your brain, because it wants to keep you happy and safe and healthy, it will just tell you, I know how to make you feel better. You need to go eat something. And then so your brain creates this like super highway of connecting uncomfortable feeling, need to eat to feel better. And it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to be conscious of it, but it just happens. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I would have never thought of myself as being an emotional eater, because in my head I was thinking, okay, emotional eater, they hide in the closet. They're eating buckets of fried chicken. Like I did not identify with that at all. I was just kind of like, I was just stuck at this weight and I couldn't figure out how to lose it. So I was like, well, let me start trying it. Let me start paying attention to myself for once, and like, let me tune in a little bit and see what's happening. And I noticed every day at 4 o'clock, no matter how hard I tried, the chocolate chips, the Nestle Toll House chocolate chips that were up in the cabinet would call my name. And I noticed like I was feeling overwhelmed and I was feeling really tired, like really drained. It had been a full day with the kids. It's not quite, nap time is over. It's not dinner time yet. It's not bedtime yet. But it was like that time of day, like the volume in my house got loud and I just could not help but have some chocolate chips. So I'd grab a handful of chocolate chips, and that was really kind of like a turning point for me, because I was like, if I can find something I enjoy just as much as those chocolate chips, but not eat them and do something else instead, I think that would help me a lot. So I was like, I like to learn. So I took on this year of grace, I took time to learn about myself, and we'll talk about that too, like how to identify your personal needs, how to take time for self-care, because it's a multi-layer process. But one of the things I discovered was I love learning, I love teaching, and I missed having that downtime to learn something without constantly having to be engaged with the kids. So what I figured out was at 4 o'clock, I'm going to head outside. I have a driveway that's a circle, and I'm going to walk around my driveway. And then the kids can play outside in the sandbox or just in the yard or whatever. And I don't have to like watch them like a hawk because there's no traffic or anything. It's a safe area. And I could listen to a podcast and I could just walk. And just that little tweak, it didn't cost me any money. It was a crazy time of day. My stress went so far down because I was actually doing something for myself. And it wasn't a challenge to just walk around a little bit, get some fresh air. It was pleasant. I really looked forward to it. And that's how I started. I just would walk a little tiny bit, and I just stopped doing some things that I thought like, okay, what else could I do right now that would make me feel just as good as eating would? And I just started to make little exchanges, learn about myself and then try to change what I was doing. So it started with the chocolate chips at 4 o'clock. And then it went to like, okay, when they go to bed and I would have tea and cookies or whatever, what else can I have? And then I started also giving myself permission, like, okay, if you want ice cream, have ice cream, but let's like actually taste it and let's savor it. And then, don't feel guilty about having it. And so, we got ice cream, and I discovered like, I actually don't really like this. It's not really cold. It doesn't really taste that good. Like for the first time in my life, I gave myself permission to eat it. And I really discovered I didn't actually like it. I was always, when I have ice cream, it was like, oh, we're going for large and we're going all in because the next, the diet starts on Monday. So I don't know when the next time is I'm going to have this. So it would be the biggest size, and then I'd feel guilty after, but then I'd eat as much as I could and I wouldn't taste it. So when I finally tweaked even just that and like, I'm going to taste a little bit and then like let it, sit in my mouth and let me taste it. It tasted waxy. It wasn't cold enough. So all these things I started learning, and I'm like, well, what do I like? And so then I started to get really picky about the treats I would have. Like Nestle's Toll House chocolate chips are no longer really that tasty anymore to me. Like I want the high end chocolate if I'm going to have some chocolate. And I started changing how I talk to myself. Like, I would feel like with this diet mentality, you think, okay, I'm going to have this now because I don't know when the next time is I'm going to allow myself to have it. And so if we would go out to eat or get takeout, or like a gyro is one of like something we'll get like on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I'd eat the whole thing because I'd think, well, tomorrow the diet will start, or, you might as well eat it. It tastes really good right now. And so what I started noticing was like, if I have half, I'm pretty much satisfied. And I've gotten that, it's the treat, out of whatever it is. But, and this was for me a light bulb moment. It's like, Katie, you're an adult. You can go get that anytime you want. So you don't have to cram it all in now. if you want another gyro tomorrow, go get another gyro, and just give myself permission to have it. And so anyway, those little tweaks, no dieting, no deprivation, just like allowing myself a lot of grace. I called it my year of grace because I wasn't going to punish myself. I wasn't going to berate myself or belittle myself for where I was. I was just like, I'm going to, start to learn about myself and understand myself so that I can make the best choices for myself. And I just kept doing that every day. And, I started learning more about myself and growing, and the weight just started coming off. And so about 60 pounds came off without real deprivation at all over the course of about a year. But it was the first time in my life I didn't feel powerless. I actually felt in control. Like, wow, I got this, and I felt like empowered. Like, this is what was missing. I didn't understand the psychology behind the extra weight. And once I learned that, it was like a flip was switched in my brain. And I was like, you know what, I could have whatever I want, but why do I really want it? And so it's kind of getting to the why. And once I got to that why, the weight started coming off. And then I was able to find hobbies I liked that fit in my budget and my time constraints with my kids. And, I started building a life that I loved, that included myself in it, and I started paying attention to my own needs too, which I think is important. But I think a lot of times as women, we don't pay a lot of attention to them.
Yes, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. One of the reasons I wanted you on as a guest, because I don't want those magic diet pills or anything else that anybody else is promoting is not worth it. And I know I had medical issues and things, and it was part of, you're talking about self-care. I realized later I really should have dug deeper and found better doctors or different doctors, because I had 2 health issues that hadn't been treated for years. And I ended up with a surgery, and it took me a year and a half, and I'm finally feeling stronger, but enough to be able to get up and do more. And but all that weight packed on because I was sick and didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so that self-care is extremely important, and not beating myself up because, I'm gaining weight. It's me. There's something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. I'm overeating, or I'm blaming all myself. So it's fantastic to hear your story about that you take care of yourself, and you don't have to tell yourself no all the time. And like you said, you're an adult. You don't need to treat yourself like a child.
Yeah.
And I think as mothers, we do have a tendency to do that because that's what we're used to doing, is correcting children.
Right.
But we need to flip that switch and not be so harsh. So,
Definitely.
Well, I think we're getting close to the end of our time for today. And I don't know if you after doing all this weight loss, and then you started a business. That's how
I started Health, Wellness, and Chocolate. Because one of the parts of learning about myself was like, I really, as much as I love being home with my kids and being their homeschool teacher, I really did miss being able to teach classes and be an educator to other adult women. Like that was actually really something I really enjoyed, like running classes. And so I thought, if I could teach people this, then I kind of fulfill 2 needs, like the need for me to feel like I don't want any woman going to bed at night beating herself up and feeling like a failure because she's been given this roadmap of a diet that doesn't work. And then she thinks something's wrong with her where the map is wrong, right? And you feel like you're wrong, but really the map is wrong. So that was my number 1. And then my number 2 was like, that would fulfill my need too of being able to connect with people. Like, so when we get off our call, I will have tons of energy because this lights me up. I love this, and it fits my life right now. I don't have to get, my kids are downstairs, so you might hear them a little bit, but I don't have to like drop them off at daycare and then go to an office and work there for 8 hours a day. Like, this is a wonderful compromise for me. I get to do this, which I love, but I also get to be with them, which I love, you know? So it's like, it fit. So it was one of the needs I had identified with myself, and it fit with my, with building a life I love. So that's how come I started it. It was like, people need to hear this message. Like they're not powerless, and I have the tools. I can help you, and I could show you your brain and how you're kind of like falling into, what is your brain telling you? Like, if you don't have that donut, you're going to die. It's like, that's not true. But let me show you why it says that. It thinks it's true, but that's not true. And then and so really kind of empowering them too, to feel like, okay, they can kind of put the dieting down, put it away, and really become the best version of themselves, and it is possible, right? It's not hard to do. Like I always say, it's simple, but it might not be easy, right? Like a sit-up. A sit-up is simple, you just sit up, but sometimes it's not easy.
Right.
It's simple, but it might not be easy. You have to do some time. You have to take some time and do some thought work, which maybe is hard if you're used to using food to distract yourself, or maybe there's issues you don't want to face, so it's easier to start another diet, or it's easier to just eat and distract yourself rather than dealing with, hey, I don't really like my job, or I'm not really happy with some of the choices I made, and now I'm beating myself up about it, so I'll just eat instead of deal with that, right? Like we'll deal with some of that too, but we're really kind of looking forward and saying, okay, what are your strengths? Let's look at them, and then we'll help you, create some strategies so that you hit the ground running. And then when you have a life you love, then food isn't the most important part of your day or the best part of your day. Right. Like if you say to yourself, like, oh, at least when I'm at work, we go out to lunch. That's my favorite part of the day. Like that shouldn't be the case, right? Like it could be a nice part of your day, but it doesn't have to be the best part of your day. And so if you say that to yourself a lot, it's like, wait, that's a red flag, because you're saying then food is more important, like an inanimate object is more important than your relationships, time with yourself. Like there's a lot of things maybe you're not investing in then, other than the food. So,
right. Well, that's fabulous. We're going to have Katie back on Wednesday. And she's going to give us some advice on different things about how to do that self-care that we've been talking about today. So thank you for joining us today on Milestone Mondays, Katie, and we will see you again on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.